Perspectives, different views, one voice.
Okay, welcome to the LDM Perspective. Today we are discussing whether there is an agenda against successful black men. So I'm your host today, Mo, and I'm joined by my friends
Cam,
Kojo,
Ali. And before we begin, we just thought it would maybe be more useful to play a clip of an interview by Gayle King and Lisa Leslie.
It's been said that his legacy is complicated because of the sexual assault charge, which was dismissed in 2003, 2004. Is it complicated for you as a woman, as a WNBA player?
It's not complicated for me at all. Even if there's a few times that we've been at a club at the same time, Kobe's not the kind of guy, never been like, Lisa, go get that girl or tell her or send her this. I have other NBA friends that are like that. Mm-hmm. He was never like that. I just never have ever seen him being the kind of person that would do something to violate a woman or be aggressive in that way. That's just not the person that I know.
But Lisa, you wouldn't see it though. As his friend, you wouldn't see it.
And that's possible. Mm-hmm. I just don't believe that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying things didn't happen. Mm-hmm. I just don't believe that things didn't happen with force.
Is it even a fair question to talk about it, considering he's no longer with us and that it was resolved? Or is it really part of his history?
I think that the media should be more respectful. At this time, it's like if you had questions about it, you've had many years to ask him that. I don't think it's something that we should keep hanging over his legacy. I mean, it went to trial.
Yeah, it was dismissed because the victim in the case refused to testify, so it was dismissed.
And I think that's how we should leave it.
Perspectives, different views, one voice.
Okay, so after listening to that, what is you guys' general thoughts of that interview and how that went?
Big Lisa Leslie made a valid point. If this was ever an issue, you had many years to ask him this question. This happened when, in 2003? We're talking like more than
12 years.
Yeah, it was. It's more than 10 years. So anyone could quite easily, have asked
2003 to 4. We're in 2020 now. Yeah. That's about, 15, 16, 17
more than 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, for the most part, the case was dismissed, so he was never found guilty. So, take from that what you will. But I think, I don't think it complicates his legacy. I think the way she phrased the question, I can see why people could get upset at that. Because he was never taken to trial. He was never even taken to trial. Case didn't even go to trial. It was dismissed before he even got to that stage.
Yeah, so I think the thing is, as a journalist, if you're speaking about specifics, if you're talking about someone, what are you allowed to ask and what you are not allowed to ask? I feel like as a journalist, you should be able to ask certain questions. Mm-hmm. So I guess the initial question being asked about the legacy, whether it's part of the legacy, I don't think that was necessarily wrong to ask that question. I can understand why people will feel a certain way about it because Kobe just passed away and everyone is kind of like in that grieving mode. And normally when people pass away, you like to remember the good aspects of their life, what they've done, not certain shady things that has been allegations that has been thrown at them. So I feel like that was fair. But for me, it was more the leading questions after that. One of the leading questions was that, as a friend, you're not going to think that way. So that's a leading question because you're saying that it could have happened, but because you're the friend, you're not going to see them in that light. That's one leading question. The other question that I felt that it was really inappropriate was that when Lisa Leslie said that, this is something that never went to court, and Gayle King said it never went to court, the only reason why the case was thrown out is because the person didn't show up. So that kind of alludes to that it's not necessarily that he didn't do it, but this was thrown out of court because the person didn't show up. Those are the two questions that I felt like she was fetching for something. I felt like she was trying to make something stick. That's what I didn't like about the way that interview actually went.
Well, personally for me, I agree with both of what you guys are saying. She was too forceful. She knew her agenda, exactly what she was wanting to get out of it. And it's just manipulative kind of character out of that because, as what Coach just said, people grieving. The guy's his funeral hasn't even been set yet. You know what I mean? His body's still there. It hasn't even been all getting ready or everything like that to be set. And all you're doing, at least wait afterwards. His funeral is done, and give it a week or whatsoever, and then come back to the questions. And I found it. I personally, listening to that, watching that, from what I can see from Gayle King expression and her body language, I felt that she knew what she was doing, regardless of the question, regardless of, as a journalist, you have to ask any tough questions anyway, which, yes, is the valid point. But I felt that she knew what she was doing. Is the right time to do it, because that will make her have more publicity and more fame, because she's been quiet for a while now. She's been quiet, to be frank, because obviously the reason why she's this big is because of she's Oprah's friend. Personally, if it wasn't because of Oprah's friend, no one would know about Gayle King. I personally think that. I think because she just wants to be exposed, and this is the right time to expose it, and especially of Kerbin's situation. It's the right time. I think it's not the first time. For example, Oprah came out of the blue with Michael Jackson's kind of interview. That's another perfect time as well for Oprah to be shining as well. She wants to shine. I think she wants to shine, and that's the perfect time for her to do it. That's what I think. But it was not right. But the question needs to be asked. Yes, it has to be asked, but it's the way you ask the questions. It's not forcing and attacking your opposite, if you know what I mean.
Okay, so for me, from listening to it, I would want to say personally, I don't really know much about Gayle King. She's not really someone I
didn't know much about her until this film
before, or anything like that.
I do remember. Was she the one that interviewed R. Kelly?
R. Kelly, she was.
Yeah.
So she's known for that.
I remember her from that.
She's known for that.
I remember how he behaved in that interview.
So she was looking for another moment, R. Kelly moment. That's the way I was playing it.
In terms of her career, I wouldn't say I know much about it in that aspect. In terms of the interview which we just heard, I reckon definitely she was leading questions with expecting a particular response, and especially the whole dismissive, discrediting comment that she made, whereby she was saying, like, you wouldn't because you're a friend or something like that. Why would you ask the question then if you already have that thought? It makes no difference unless you're trying to highlight something. And I do feel, in terms of an agenda against a successful male, then yes, that was definitely displayed in this interview. In terms of the agenda against a successful black male, like I said, I don't know much about Gayle King. The only other interview, for example, as you guys mentioned, was the R. Kelly one. And other than that, there's nothing for me to support that kind of statement or agenda in that aspect, in that sense. But I do feel, in terms of Kobe in particular, he was being misrepresented in that interview and not really shone in a good light in terms of how that was carried out in that sense.
Yeah, so I think some of the stuff that I did mention, though, is that when you're looking at the time, the period, obviously Kobe Bryant passed away, everyone's talking about Kobe. Your timing to release such an interview and highlight those kind of things, at best, is distasteful. Even if I wanted to make excuses for it, it's really, really distasteful. Because on one hand, you're not even just looking at Kobe's family and how they're grieving about this incident. You're drawing up things that, and I can't say past conversations because it was never recorded, but if you were to compare with maybe Bill Cosby or some of these other guys where they were actually found guilty in a court of law, this is not a legacy to mention about. Someone accused you of something that it was never proven that you did it. So for me, when you're saying it's part of the legacy, it's like it's a little bit of an injustice to the person if they were never found guilty of it.
But I think that is a valid statement only in its consistency, whereby you believe in that all the time. Because there are generally people that believe whether someone was
that rape cases are hard,
not,
but people, because they have the conversation that rape cases are hard to actually take to court and find someone guilty based on that kind of stuff.
It wouldn't be a valid statement, because why bring up in the first place if the person is not guilty?
No, but that's the thing. It's valid in the context that you're a person that believes that when someone is found guilty.
So there's a bias. There's bias even in the statement that you're saying. So
Yeah.
from her perspective, she believes that he might have done something, but he wasn't found guilty. That's why you lead those kind of
Yeah, but
conversations.
I wouldn't want her to bring that up because at the end of the day, the guy, as what I mentioned, his body isn't even rested yet. Why brought that up in the interview, which you know that is going to be exposed and people going to be... It's a perfect time to do that. Why bring up that?
The time.
But what if she actually attaches that to his legacy, though? What if she personally attaches that?
That's what I'm saying.
to
That's
his
what I'm saying.
legacy?
Yeah, but actually, some people might attach that incident to his legacy.
They will. It's just a human nature. It will happen.
Some people will be like, remember the time that Kobe Bryant was found? There was this allegation that he sexually assaulted someone in the
bring it
hotel
up
room.
again.
Some people could have that conversation. I wasn't even aware that something like that happened until this thing came out. I wasn't aware. I don't follow basketball like that. I know Kobe Bryant, but I don't remember the incident.
Because even when he won the Oscar a few years ago for his documentary, it was brought up then. They brought it up, the rape allegation. So, it's something that has, I guess, it has hung over his head. But as I said, he was never found. And in fact, he was never found guilty. And in fact, I've watched a few videos about it, and I saw one video where they said one reason why, they wasn't even taking the trial is because the woman who made the allegation, forensically, they found 8 different types of semen within her. So, I think that she didn't
difficult to prove.
Exactly.
If
It was
it's
extremely
difficult.
difficult.
But then I
within
think,
that same night.
I don't know, but I'm assuming I don't know.
I think the injustice on Kobe's behalf, though, is that Gayle King, when she released a statement because of the backlash, said that she personally knew Kobe and all those kind of stuff. And I felt like if you personally knew the person, and it's something that, what's her name? The lady that she was interviewing?
Lisa
Leslie mentioned that this conversation, you should have asked him this when he was alive. You don't wait for him to pass and you're asking one of his good friends whether that should be part of his legacy. I feel like that, those are kind of the stuff where I'm saying regarding that interview where it doesn't sit right with me because it's like, you don't wait to do that. But whether it's part of his legacy, it's just
my
up to
question
people to
is,
hear.
who brought up this question? Was it her herself personally?
Gayle King.
No, I'm talking about Gayle King. Was her that brought up this question personally, or was it what company is it? Is it the
CBS? Is it CBS or?
CBS.
I
Who
think
brought
she's
the
an
question?
anchor in it for CBS.
Because she would have known this question is going to come up anyway.
Well, that was her response to it. Her response was that the way they marked, because at the time, I think when it did come out, I think the network only showed that particular scene.
Yes.
And she said they didn't show the whole.
You're right.
To add any real context to how she phrased those.
Because
questions.
I've watched her response to the backlash, and that's perfectly what she said. That was about a 5-minute segment, but then the network just chose a specific part to show, to sensationalize it. And that's something that's not how she wanted that interview to come out, because they spoke about his life achievement and all those kind of stuff, and that was just a little segment of it.
Perspectives, different views, one voice.
I've been up reading the comments about the interview I did with Lisa Leslie about Kobe Bryant. And I know that if I had only seen the clip that you saw, I'd be extremely angry with me too. I am mortified, I'm embarrassed, and I am very angry. Unbeknownst to me, my network put up a clip from a very wide-ranging interview, totally taken out of context, and when you see it that way, it's very jarring. It's jarring to me. I didn't even know anything about it. I started getting calls. What the hell are you doing? Why did you say this? What is happening? I did not know what people are talking about. So I've been told, or I've been advised, to say nothing. Just let it go. People will drag you. People will troll you. It'll be over in a couple of days. But that's not good enough for me, because I really want people to understand what happened here and how I'm feeling about it. I reached out to Lisa because I know that she's a longtime friend of Kobe's, to talk about his legacy and their friendship. We had a really wide-ranging interview, talked about many things: his career, his passion, his sense of humor, the way he was mentoring other people, how he was starting his next chapter. It was wide-ranging. And yes, we talked about that court case, because that court case has also come up. And I wanted to get Lisa's take on it as a friend who knew him well, what she thought, where that should stand. And I thought it was very powerful when she looked me in the eye as a member of the media to say it's time for the media to leave it alone and to back off. During the course of the interview, I asked follow-up questions because I wanted to make sure that her position and perspective were very clear. And at the end, when she said it's time to leave it alone, as I said, I thought that was powerful. And I insisted that part be in the interview because I thought that it put a nice button on that part of the conversation. When the interview aired, we got a great reaction to it. I talked to Lisa last night. I believe that Lisa was okay with the interview. And I felt really good about the interview. So for the network to take the most salacious part when taken out of context and put it up online for people who didn't see the whole interview is very upsetting to me, and that's something I'm going to have to deal with them.
Perspectives, different views, one voice.
But bear in mind, the company that she's working for, they are against, you know how America is anyway. They're not going to support people of colors anyway. She's in that kind of media. I mean, is it CBN?
CBS.
Yeah, I mean, she's being in her role wouldn't really support that argument then.
No,
And
because
that's down to whether she has any.
It's the influence that she could exert on the material that she actually makes. But Ali's right, I'm sorry. When you watch a lot of the conversations on CBS, I'm sorry, but it is loaded. There is a racial agenda. There is a racial bias. Because you have an anchor that's black, does not mean that you support a lot of the black communities' issues or engagement or how they will feel. I just feel personally, if that is correct in regards to how she explained it, then the network saw an opportunity to actually put something out there that a lot of people are going to be watching, that's going to sensationalize that specific conversation and highlight and imagine a black person saying this about another black person. So it's not us white people doing it. It's you guys doing it among each other.
You know what's so funny as well?
She was used there.
Yeah. Because they do that a lot.
From her explanation.
Yeah.
So this is it. This is how I feel. From her explanation, it sounds like she was used in that context. However, she has to be accountable for the questions that she asks. Yeah. And that's why I'll still stick by some of the questions that she asks. She shouldn't have asked those questions because as for me, just watching that, it sounded as if she had some sort of an agenda that she wanted to reach, some sort of conclusion that she's made up already. Yeah. And she was asking questions based on that. Yeah. So she cannot take herself away from that. Whether it's a 1-minute segment or not, and this network are trying to push that agenda forward, she has to be accountable for the material or the questions that she asks.
Perspectives, different views, one voice.
All right, so then how do you guys feel about Snoop Dogg's reaction?
Well, it was emotional.
Yeah, it was emotional. I thought it was perfect.
Yeah,
personally, I must say, watching the Gayle King interview, and then because I watched them back to back, and I watched other kind of platforms, podcasts, what the view kind of point was. And I feel like initially from watching that Gayle King interview and watching Snoop Dogg's response, I thought it was perfect because I feel like, what are you doing here? Innit? It's like, how can you try to like throw shades at someone's name? What's the thing for it? I can't find the right word for it. It's like slander, like that kind of slander. And it was emotional, and it was something to say that we're not going to stand for this. Why do you guys feel it necessary to push a specific agenda? And in Snoop Dogg's comments, he mentioned what's his name? What's this white director that every woman on earth is trying to sue him for sexual harassment?
Oh, Harvey Weinstein.
Snoop Dogg mentions Oprah and Gayle in the context of his thing to say that this person has done that because you guys are good friends with him. I don't see you guys asking questions like this about him, but you guys are kind of like pushing this kind of. So Snoop Dogg, apart from responding to that and the flagrant language that he used, he also mentioned that some sort of agenda.
Perspectives, different views, one voice.
Gayle King. Out of pocket for that shit. Way out of pocket. What do you gain from that? I swear to God, we the worst. We the fucking worst. We expect more from you, Gayle. Don't you hang out with Oprah? Why y'all attacking us? We your people. You ain't coming after fucking Harvey Weinstein asking them dumbass questions. I get sick of y'all. I want to call you one.
Did he mention Michael Jackson as well?
I think he mentioned Michael Jackson. He mentioned Bill Cosby as well.
Okay.
Because then Bill Cosby responded on on Instagram. I don't know how he has Instagram. So the example that he used, I guess you'll be able to separate it. So one is on the response. I feel like the response at that time, I felt like it was necessary. I guess looking back on that response, I'll say that the language that he used is something that maybe he shouldn't have done, because I felt like it was very strong language and aggressive language, which then kind of led to other people like death threats and all sorts of stuff. Oprah actually released another statement.
For me, for Snoop Dogg, I don't want to use the term aggressive because we've always been stating for all black, we're all aggressive. It was just passion. That's what it was. It was just passion. And that's his best one of his hoodie, best friend. And, and the fact that Kobe is still his body hasn't been rested yet is upset. It's like imagine Dr. Dre in that sense. It happened to him. That's how Snoop Dogg will feel as well, because he's very passionate about it. He's not aggressive. He just wanted to show that what Gayle
aggressive.
King,
He mentioned he cussed her and said, "We're coming for you."
No, I'm getting there.
Like,
what I'm saying, no, it's just passion. Okay, the fact that the part that where he said that I'm coming for you, that was no. But using foul language and calling her the B word and whatever, the F word, yeah, it shouldn't go to that kind of context of it. It should know how to articulate it and get his words across. But I don't want to use the word that he's aggressive towards it. I was just thinking it was just passion and make her understand that this needs to stop. Simple as that. And every guy that is closer to Kobe or the family will do the same thing, because it's just a human instinct that he's just going to be angry about it. He's going to shout out and behave. Obviously, maybe it didn't felt like, because I'm thinking when Snoop Dogg was talking anyway, in general, that talks anyway. When did they start listening to Snoop Dogg? When did people start listening to Snoop Dogg in general? Like Snoop Dogg, like people in the media, people don't listen to Snoop Dogg that much anyway. He just talks however he wants. And then out of the blue, because of this now, okay, is it okay? This is what I understand. Why is it okay when a man, a male, does do something? It's okay. The male is the bad side. As soon as the female does something, oh, the female didn't say that. The female is good. Oh, they're trying to portray it in a different agenda to have a sympathy for the female, but not knowing the female could do the same thing what the male is doing as well.
But drawing it back in, well, we're talking about so successful black men, and then putting that in comparison with successful white men who've done, I'm trying to think, can we think of examples? We've got Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, there's a few.
There's Roman Polanski, who was convicted of sexual, and he fled the country, and he's never been back to America since. This man's made movies where he's even been nominated for Oscars since, and it's only now they decided to move him from the Oscars Academy. But this man was able to, to work, and that's, that was unreal. I think I'm trying to think of other examples as well.
I know Oprah's got one close to home. I think, is it one of her directors or someone that she worked with?
I heard about that, actually.
She's never gone through with that. I mean, in response to Snoop Dogg's thing, I reckon what people need to understand is his language and abusive behaviour that he used is wrong towards any individual. It shouldn't be allowed. But I do also want people not to forget that in this day and age, anywhere you go, you do come across people that react in that way when they're angry about or passionate about something. It may be the wrong thing, but what he's done isn't unusual, if you get what I mean. Like, people act that way when they're angry about something. They might be abusive or whatever. But what I didn't want is it to take away the fundamentals of what he was highlighting.
Yes.
Well, that's what's happening.
Gayle King's professional journalism was terrible in that interview.
Yeah.
And what she done was wrong in that sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem.
And that's essentially what I'm trying to say here, that I agreed with his response with what he was trying to say. It's just that language that he used, I didn't feel necessary. That's because you talk about Snoop Dogg and you talk about normal people behaving like that. Yes, at home I could behave like that. But the minute that I'm putting it out there, and he has gravitas, he is a legend in the community. People will listen to him.
That's it.
We have listened to him and thought that what he was saying was right. So when you are in that kind of environment, then you have to be careful the language that you kind of use, because even though what you're saying is right, it kind of get lost on people because I'm looking at other white journalists or other white media that are kind of covering this, and they've just kind of gone like, oh, Snoop Dogg, you could never talk to women like that, and they've literally lost the point of everything that he was trying to say. This is what happens.
Yeah.
When you don't articulate yourself like that, even though you're saying the right thing, that message is not going to be carried forward. No. That's why I say it that way. That I agree with his response, but it's just the language and the so-called death threats. Because even on the death threats, it's funny because Oprah was interviewed and she was asked the question, "Oh, how is Gayle King doing?" Yeah. So, she nearly broke down in tears and emotional, talking about it, and she's not taking it well, and that she's receiving death threats and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, that's really bad. That she shouldn't have to go through that, if you get what I mean. But Oprah is not talking about Kobe Bryant's wife, how Kobe Bryant's wife would have felt when Gayle King was asking those questions. Because she could be crying at home as well. So everything that is happening to Gayle King now, Kobe Bryant's wife could be going through. Why is their husband's name being dragged in the media like this in the first place? Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's like, it's very, like, you don't just talk about one thing because the person is close to you. Let's look at how it affects everyone in general.
They're picking shoes.
Yeah, this is what I kind of feel about Kobe's Oprah's response. I'm like, yeah, cool, innit? But
she's neglecting the family basically and just concerning about her friend, making sure that the media are focusing on her friend, that her friend is okay, and then once her friend is okay, everything else is okay.
But to do her thing though, she did mention that people have the right to criticize and make their own opinion. Mm-hmm. She just said in the way that opinion is being expressed. It's what she did say even in that interview. I must highlight that because I feel like you cannot work in media and not give people the right to criticize. Like, that's the whole point of the media. So if you're working in the media and you're putting certain information out there, then you should be ready to take the reaction that people might have towards it.
Yeah, but Snoop Dogg did apologize, which was good of him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He apologized just on the language part, not on what he was saying. He was just saying the language. He shouldn't use that language. Because he almost feels like, and this is what I was saying about throwing the water out with the baby and stuff. Because that issue has happened within that black community doesn't mean that we need to start attacking each other. No. Like, we need to really sit down and see why it's wrong. And essentially what he was saying is that it's wrong for you to bring this up at this time. He hasn't done anything. And plus people are saying that when he was alive, you should be asking these conversations. It's not now that you should. That is the part that we should be thinking. All that using that B word, bitch, this, that, I just feel like that's unnecessary. Because then when that conversation is being taken forward, the white media is expressing it as in an aggressive black man that doesn't know how to control his emotions, doesn't know how to articulate himself, just they attacking the woman. And then, thug life, it goes against this whole women agenda that you're trying to suppress women from speaking their mind. That's what they try to shape it, but that's not what the conversation is about. And that shouldn't be lost on people.
Perspectives, different views, one voice.
So do you reckon then there is an agenda against successful black males?
100% from
according to 50 Cent and Snoop Dogg, they believe that that's the case.
From what they've expressed. It's not even about what they think.
So
it's just what society's happening. It's just our society. It's just somehow when what I've noticed is the period when they are slowly dying off.
Who is slowly dying off?
Like successful black men. When there's time for them to, what's it called? Like,
as in their legacy?
Their legacy
dying off, or as in their
legacy in general, when I feel like their legacy is about to just decay or they're not out there anymore, they're slowly starting to get an attack, especially, and by the time you know it, it's just a backslash, and then everything just attacking because, for example, Michael Jackson's a perfect example. Like, when he wasn't in the media as such, right? And then, obviously, there was an allegation about him for the kids.
Well, he was never found guilty about any of those allegations.
Exactly, but what
was he in the court of law? If we're talking about that, okay. Yeah.
But the point is that he wasn't in the media as much as how he was before. So slowly he was doing his thing. Then what happened was, from what I understand, Michael Jackson starting to his followers is starting to allow them to understand what is going on in the media, even in debt, right? Yeah. So when they knew that was happening, right, and they knew that this guy's got power, it's like people gonna follow him, that's when they attacked him. They proper did, and they came with all kind of, because even, is it not, would you correct me, did he not buy Sony for example, half of it, or
He
He
bought the Beatles catalogue,
yeah, which was good of it. But he had, even Disney, for example, Disney, when Disney starts, the little kid, the cloud, that was original Michael Jackson, but they changed it. Disney changed it, and then they put a little kid in there. So, for example, of that, this guy's got power. So when they knew he had so much power, right, they knew that if he start talking and exposing how the media's going, he's not going to look good on us. So they have to calm down on him.
So I think with Michael Jackson, so I think with his one, it was, I guess, a lot of it, so let's start, stems from the two men that have accused him of abusing them when they were younger, and they're now coming out. They've now come out to say that this abuse did take place, when I think at the time of the trial they said it didn't happen. I think one of them gave evidence and said that he was never abused.
Yeah.
And, he's now, more than 10 years later, after, the man is dead, so he can't even defend himself.
But that was
And they're now
recent,
saying
isn't
it
it?
happened.
Yeah, it's like recent as in 2-3 years ago they came out again.
Yeah.
No, it was just
The
last year.
Oprah.
Was it last year?
Was
Well,
Oprah
the
show.
documentary came out
Yeah,
last
was
year.
it? So was it Oprah that was the executive producer for
I
that?
don't know. And that's something I want
So
to need to
Oprah
check.
wasn't the executive producer, but what
she
she did
brought
an
him on the
interview
show.
after
Yeah, she did an interview.
that show had come out, basically. So more giving highlight to
Yeah.
the show or the documentary.
Yeah,
what
but
she was
it's
doing.
it's funny though, because when you talk about the agenda, because for instance, you talk about Oprah, right? And there was this whole, she was doing this documentary about Russell Simmons, about some women that have kind of reported that they were sexually assaulted or abused by Russell Simmons. And then when she was interviewed by Gayle King of All the People. How objective can that person
What a
be?
coincidence, eh?
How objective? For when you're receiving backlash to say, why did you step down? And then you go to your friend to interview you. How objective can that interview really be? But anyway, it was being interviewed by Gayle King, and then the question was asked us, why do you feel that? What would you say to the people that feel like you stepped down because you had Russell Simmons putting pressure on you? Because Russell Simmons apparently was sending an email, say, what are you doing? All that kind of stuff. And she said that she stepped down because of the creative direction that the documentary was being put together. Because she highlighted that there was a lady in there that she believes should have a bigger segment in the whole documentary, but she kind of had a disagreement with the producers, and because that was not being done and how that whole thing was being put together, that's why she stepped down. But she said she actually believed these women. Yeah, so for me, is when you qualify a statement without actual facts. So one statement, in a sense that you've come to me to say something that's happened to you. I haven't heard the other side. But because you've said this to me, I say that I believe you. And then she went on to say that, obviously, she was abused when she was younger. Yeah. So she talked about her being abused and all those kind of stuff. So I feel like with Oprah, the more the agenda comes from her experience of what she's been through and her feeling like women do not have that platform to express themselves when it comes to these kind of issues, especially in the black community as well. So she almost feels like she's the mouthpiece to give these women a voice.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Because of some of the stuff that she's kind of gone through. But we must highlight, though, that in the black community, these conversations are not being had enough. There is abuse that goes on in the black community.
I mean, in regards to the question, I do generally think there is a agenda against successful black males. And I feel the thing that is paining me even more is how the use of black women are being used to bring down the black male. Yeah. So in reference to what you were just mentioning about the whole Oprah thing, I feel with her, it's fine to have a stance or even a bias in terms of women being abused or being mistreated in any way. I think that's perfectly fine. I think the problem then comes more in terms of the consistency you have towards that conviction or that belief, because you can't on one hand penalise certain people more than others, and if that is the case, then there is elements of an agenda there, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Because I guess what a lot of people, and that's why I wanted to go back to the second part of what Snoop Dogg was saying, because the second part of Snoop Dogg's, the whole conversation is that he was mentioning people like Harvey Weinstein, I could never say the surname. Weinstein. And how Oprah and Gayle King were very close friends with Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
And then the thing was that how come they are not giving the same thing that they're pushing this agenda of other black people that have committed some sort of, or that have these allegations against them and nothing's been proven. How come they're not giving it that same rating for Harvey? Is it because Harvey is white and they were good friends or whatever? Not. So just going back on what you're saying, if you're saying that you have some sort of internal bias that women don't have a voice, then when it comes to Harvey as well, you should be pushing that agenda to say, yeah, he's my friend, but women don't have a voice and this guy is bad or whatever. Not. Whereas the statements that they released when it comes to Harvey, it was kind of like, oh, I didn't know him that way. Oh, he was a good friend. I didn't know him that way. It's kind of like separating the friend from the actual actions that they've committed. So this is what kind of leads to a lot of people to feel like these people inherently have an agenda. Because even going back to Michael Jackson, where people are boycotting his music, let's not listen to his music. Are they boycotting Harvey Weinstein's movies?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Is that happening?
I don't think
To add into that, I think it's not only because of their white. I think it's because of the power. This black, Oprah or Gayle King. I think it's the power that they have, the power that has been given to them, and they feel like if they do this stuff, they will lose it all. They will lose all the power, so they don't want to do it. That's what I believe, because successful black man is the perfect time. It's so perfect for this powerful, successful black woman to attack, because if another black white person comes in and attack a black successful man, they will say that's racism, and they will say that it's an attack.
Yeah.
But if a black successful woman attack them, no, it's fine. It's just between them two. There's nothing too much to it. But not knowing the deeper core to it is actually disturbing and is actually not good, because we are seeing it.
Perspectives, different views, one voice.
So do you think that these black women are aware that they're being abused?
I think they are. That's what I mentioned.
Are they benefiting from it?
They are benefiting. That's what I mentioned in terms of power. Power is... What you need to understand about Oprah's upbringing and lifestyle, she was abused, right? She never had anything. And then she got adopted, right? And she got adopted from a white person, basically. She nurtured her, brought her up where she is now, and now she's a successful white black woman. Do you think she wants to lose all of that?
But are you saying that by her not misrepresenting successful black men, she would lose everything?
I think so. I personally think she will lose everything, because what will happen? Oprah, at this power, at this moment, at this present current time, at this 21st century that we are in, she has so much influence, right? In whether it's white community, whether it's black community, she has so much influence. If she's starting to attack, for example, Harvey Weinstein and the other social that are doing this kind of stuff, these people won't be in power. And then what will happen? You will have Perry what? Tyler Perry will have power to go more in the media of directors. If these people start going off, they start attacking and start going off, who's going to next have power in the movie industry? It's going to be black. And a lot of black people are coming up in the movie industry. So these people, they need to stay where they are. Literally. I think it's just about power. They know what they're doing. I don't know how to go in depth into it. I don't have evidence. But from what I'm seeing, it's all about power. And Oprah does not want to lose her power.
See, I personally think that Oprah is not going to lose any power. I don't think it's about losing power. I think and I don't think she may genuinely, personally have an agenda against the black community or the black.
But it's not the first time.
It's not
the first time.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, I think that what it is she is being approached in some way or whatever to propel a certain perception of black males.
But she's got money for this,
and she just sees it as a catalyst to her personal that she can benefit from.
No.
So it's not like she's thinking in depth. She's going out there. It's just more, all right, cool. This is just another opportunity where I can either make money or propel myself in some kind of other way. And I think it may just literally be that kind of element. And that's what I will have a problem with, is that she is allowing herself to be used in that way for her own personal benefit, not fully understanding the bigger systemic damage that what she's doing.
I think she knows. She's a capable, black, successful woman to understand this.
You know,
and she's
I
very
agree
smart
with you. Then the problem is that she doesn't care if she's aware.
Look, the thing is, when you look at this kind of thing, because even Russell Simmons threatening Oprah's like, who is he to threaten me? Like, Oprah's a billionaire. Like, those kind of things don't really mean... That's the levels of it. When you're talking about money and power comes with money.
Yeah.
So she is at a certain level that a lot of these successful black men cannot even reach her like that. Right? Even if you talk about Russell Simmons. Because in one context, what she was saying about, he can't pressure me to stop what I'm doing. Like, that's how she kind of said it. It's like, you can't pressure me to stop what I'm doing. But on one hand, I can't say that she's not doing it on purpose, like what Ali is saying. And on the other hand, I can't say that she's doing things without realizing the bigger impact of it. I'm a bit caught in the middle to this, because when you listen to some of the stuff that she's saying, where for me, that Russell Simmons thing, where she's saying, I believe this woman, this hasn't gone to court, nothing has happened. So you're literally finding someone guilty without any evidence. It's just based on someone's account. Those kind of like things that she says is what makes me feel that there is an agenda that they are pushing forward, if you get what I mean. Because it's very hard, because, for instance, Monique. Does everyone know what Monique? So Monique, a year or two ago, was talking about how Oprah, but then Monique included Tyler Perry and all these other people. So not the people that you're saying that or give them the gateway to making the movie industry. Monique included all of them to say that they are kind of like picking like the people that fit in a certain kind of representation to the white audience or whatever, and those are the only people that they'll let through. So they said Monique, Kevin Hart, all these kind of people Monique kind of mentioned. And it's quite interesting when she was talking about that, because she was interviewed again after this whole Kobe Bryant stuff came out, and she was talking about, this is what I've been saying to you guys, that I've been warning that these are some of the stuff that these women are kind of pushing forward. So Oprah cannot be a billionaire and not understand the bigger impact that whatever she says or whatever agenda that she feels is going to have on the community. That is something I find difficult to accept. But on the other hand, though, is that, and it comes back to the black community, where she could be off the train of thought that a lot of these conversations are not being had in the black community. She feels that some of these things are going on. A lot of the times we feel like we need to protect our own, and that comes from a slavery mentality, because we don't want to throw our own to the white people. Yeah, but the question is, are we protecting our own when they're doing the right things, or to the detriment of our community? Because she believes that there could be black men that are abusing black women, but they don't get the same limelight. The same thing that people talk about exposure when a black woman is raped, when a white woman is raped. Who's covering those stories? The white press might be covering this and making a big deal out of it. But when a black woman is raped, who's covering those stories? And irrespective of whether it's a black man or not, I'm just talking about that in general, right? So on one hand, you could say that, she feels, or black women feel that this is someone they could go to and get their stories being heard, because if they go anywhere else, no one's going to cover those stories. And she feels like she has to give them the platform to talk about these things because they don't have anywhere else to go. That could be the other thought of train of where she's coming from. That's where she could say, I don't give a damn what people are saying, because I feel like these people don't have a platform. And generally speaking, in our communities, that is the case. Black women, when police are dealing with rape or whatever cases it is, you don't usually hear in the news about black women being raped and raped. It's always about a white female, because they're talking about what is of concern to them in regards to the media and all those kind of stuff. So I guess I'm just trying to say here, on one hand, is to say that some of these issues are happening in our communities. We can't go on like black men don't rape or all those kind of stuff don't happen. And the question is, if it's going on, is she the person to highlight some of these things? Is that fair from that side of it?
It's not that. It's just a representative. It's the wrong way of representative towards the situation. That's what it is. I'm not saying she have to be the mother of all the black because of the
What do you mean wrong way of representing?
Yeah, because it's how you come up. As what you mentioned before, there was no evidence, but she's taking accountable for herself to ask the question.
Because she's saying that if that black woman goes to report that in the police, the police are not going to take it seriously.
Let it come to her first. Let the woman actually come to her. Bring
but that's what they're saying though. That the women have come to them to say some of these things. That's why she's giving them the voice. That's why she's making a documentary about it.
Then why attack Russell?
Because the women are accusing Russell Simmons.
But then there should be more research and more evidence. Because as what you're saying, like what happened to Bill Cosby, right? All the information came, all the media came, all towards it.
It took a long time to prosecute him.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
The allegations of Bill Cosby were done years ago.
I understand.
But they never did anything about it.
Now it's all come together.
Because of the exposure.
Exactly.
That's the point he's trying to make. Trying to make. You know, these allegations with Russell Simmons, these aren't old allegations. These are new allegations. These are things that happened a long time ago.
Understand.
We don't know what's been going on behind the scenes and whether they've been reported and they just have not been taken seriously.
I totally understand. Yeah. But if you're doing for one A, do it for another A. Do you understand? Meaning, if you're going to do it for all black,
but then this is what someone could say that in regards to the white media, it's not my concern because they report it all the time anyway. Why should I be covering that? These are cases that are being reported so many times. How many seen what woman, what actress in the world hasn't said that something happened? That is been going on. Wait. No, let me just finish. So the thing is, why would I concern myself in covering this? And listen to this, yeah? This is what, for me, when I listen to every conversation, I need to listen to both parts of it. Because this R. Kelly stuff, when there's other artists, when you watch the interview, they were saying that they were seeing some of these things around them. People have seen him behaving like this for ages in the black communities.
Yeah.
How come it never came out? Yeah? So this is what I'm saying here, is that one of it is that you don't want to protect a predator. I'm not saying here that Russell Simmons is guilty or anything like that. I'm just saying within our communities, we need to say it as it is. We can't have people that are a risk to our own children. And we don't say anything because we're throwing them out because they're a successful black man or whatever. No, that's not the case. The case here is that you call a spade a spade. And we need to highlight some of these things because this whole R. Kelly issue would have never got to where it is, the pinnacles that it is now, if it was not for that documentary.
Yeah, we went for that documentary.
What is so funny?
Why is it?
Let me finish.
If he's a colleague who is white and is involved in a sexual allegation, which isn't covered elsewhere, she hasn't covered in that. I'm going in towards your argument of covering white stuff that is like Harvey Weinstein, that is covered by other media outlets. Why wouldn't she give that?
Where's the colleague now? Is he not in prison or something? Has he not been prosecuted already in prison? Yeah, so he's being prosecuted. He's in prison.
Yeah.
He's been prosecuted based on some sort of information. Now, I'm not saying here, look, one thing that you need to understand, I'm playing devil's advocate here, but a lot of it I saw is concerning our community and what our community looks like. I'm saying here that, yes, on one hand, if you're reporting for black men doing something or whatever not, it's clearly been documented that you're not giving the same kind of exposure to the white so-called friends that you have. Mm-hmm. So that's something I agree on.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to hone in on is that if these issues are happening in our community, who do we feel like is right to bring up these conversations then? Because we know the historical facts around this against black women when reporting some of these things. First of all, we know rape is difficult to prove in a court of law, whether you're white or whatever not. Then we know the racial bias, and we know the institutionalized racism, even in America, America is shown more in America than here. So you can only imagine a black woman that is going to police officers to report it. You can only imagine a black woman that's reporting in their community about this successful black man, how that could be perceived. So what I'm saying here is that how do you protect the women that have actually been assaulted? How do you give them that voice? Is what I'm saying here. Yeah. Because if you're doing that through that angle, then for me, why are we not having that conversation?
All right, you know what? I get what you're saying, and I think in that aspect then, it's more, is she giving any woman a voice, or is she specifically giving black women that are victims from those things a voice?
It's only happening to a black woman. That's why.
Do you get what I mean? I think those questions are valid questions, but can be supported with consistency. So if she has shown consistency where she is giving a voice to all black women that come to her.
They went after R. Kelly. That's how Gayle King even became, a lot of people knew Gayle King, because she asked that question that R. Kelly dropped the nail on the head when he answered it.
But I feel other aspects.
Perspectives. different views, one voice.
I feel other aspects of this have been shown in the past, whereby I'm not sure if you're familiar with Nate Parker. He was going to release a film called Blood of a Nation, which was about Nat Turner. And for him, before his release in the film, suddenly all these
allegations came
allegations
up
over 20 years, where he was found not guilty in a court of 12 people,
Slander.
whatever. But they're now being bring up. But he's had other blockbuster films before that. That weren't.
Yeah, so who's at play here? Are we saying that is the successful black women at play here, or is the white?
No, but the thing is, though, black women were used to attack him under the whole Me Too movement, to stop his film being produced or being released. They were using our women to bring down another successful black male from going forward, even though he was found not guilty and everything was.
What was the movie about?
And the movie, what makes it even more worse, was the movie was about a black preacher.
There was a slave. He was a slave who had a revolt.
Yeah, he had a revolt in Haiti, basically. He had
So they don't want
to free the slaves.
Okay,
So he, number one, he had a good film that was helping the black community in itself. And then number two, they're also using our black women to bring down another successful black person in that aspect.
Taking on the successful black man is to make you aware that regardless of whatever pinnacle of success that you get, we could bring you down to this level, right? If Michael Jackson, mate, I don't know anyone that's more successful than Michael Jackson. You could go to a village and someone knows who Michael Jackson is. Like, it's crazy. So if they're saying that regardless of how famous you are, we could bring you down to this level, it's just to show all these rappers, all these R&B singers, whatever not, regardless of how much money you have, how much houses you have, we could bring you down in it. Like, we are still the masters. We could still show you what time it is.
But and it's also perpetuating a negative image of the male black person as well.
And they're trying to...
We used to try to bring that black man down. I just thought about O.J. Simpson. But he seems to be a winner in all them situations. You know, despite whatever efforts they've tried.
Yeah, but his one was just crazy, though.
Crazy.
Yeah. What I would say is that if it's the part where things are actually happening, even if it's not through these women, then black men should be talking about it. We should be able to make the black woman feel comfortable to report some of these issues if it's happening in our community. That's the only thing I'll say about that. That's why I separate that conversation. We can't just have a conversation to say, oh, it's bad, they're using black women. I understand that part of it, but do you get what I mean by what I kind of explained there?
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, in terms of wrapping up and that, I feel that there generally is an agenda against successful black males. I personally, I think there's too much evidence showing that behaviour.
But it's good though, right? If black men are highlighting this then. Because if that's the thing with this media stuff, right? Because 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg could actually use whatever platform to actually get their message out there. They don't have to go through the old media platforms of news, someone inviting you to talk about it. They could actually get it out. So on that hand, is it not good that black men are kind of fighting back, if you want to call it, to say that they feel like there's an agenda? Yeah,
no, and I definitely agree with that. I think definitely there's an agenda, but also it's just to touch on what you were saying, if there is genuinely successful black male that are doing wrongdoing.
And the R. Kelly's one. You need to catch the R. Kelly's.
Yes, we do need to highlight those and catch them. But I don't feel we should also be victimising the innocent ones as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Just to bring down.
Yeah.
And using our own women as well to do that. And our own black women happily being complicit to doing that to our own men. Yeah. That's my thoughts. How would you guys want to conclude?
Well, for me, who's the next victim? Who's going to be next?
Conveyor belt, mate.
He's right.
Yeah, conveyor belt. Who are they going to roll up next?
Who's next?
And I just see that.
I say they're going to come after Idris. Don't do it.
I'm just saying that Oprah, girl, you guys have your power. Use it to your own advantage. If the money that you guys have, the power and the success that you guys have your own media stream. You know, do this. Yes, there is issue going on in our black community, but it's not. I feel this is my opinion, I feel it's not you as saying you are the mother of all to expose them. Perhaps get your evidence right, get everything sorted, and trying to bring it on the media. But at the same time, as what we all our friends are saying in here, it needs to be equal, it needs to be balanced. If you're gonna do one A for a black successful black man, do it also for a white successful white man. You know, use your power. You've got the power, you've got the money, you can do it. As what you mentioned, you're not scared of not doing what you needed to do. This is what you've been always wanted to do from day one. From the day one that you wanted your own Oprah show, you've been successful, you've been out there. You know how it is, you know how it is. I'm not saying, having a favor or whatsoever. There's no need to be a favor. Because at the end of the day, just remember that you're not lasting for long on this earth, on this planet Earth. Do what you need to do and leave, and your legacy needs to go to be remembered. Not to be saying, oh, look what Oprah's done, look what she's done, or look what Gayle King has done. You know, personally, just Gayle King, if you're hearing this, you have the right to question all of this. You're a journalist, but it's how you articulate. What's the word?
Articulate, yeah.
Articulate it.
It's how you ask it, basically.
Yeah, it's how you ask it, basically. So, personally, you have the right to do it. And as what Lisa Leslie mentioned, when he was alive, he should have asked him all these questions. And for me, personally, there is an agenda, as what Moz mentioned. There is an agenda with black successful black men. And I think there needs to be a balance with everything that we're doing, because it's too much of it now that's been attacked, and they need to stop at least. Maybe go for more white, successful black men, and see that, okay, you're doing both equally. That's what I believe.
I think there's always been an agenda against successful black men. I guess this conversation more is looking at that agenda to say, are they using black women to qualify this? And it seems like that's what we're getting to. And I just want black women that have maybe experienced some of the... I don't want this conversation to overshadow people that have actually gone through, experienced some horrific problems within our community. Because a lot of the times, if as black men, everyone comes out to say, yeah, there's an agenda, then that black woman that's sitting at home and they've gone through this will feel like if they come out, they're not going to be supported. So that's not what my aim is. I just know that there has been an agenda for the black man ever since time began. And it feels like in regards to this divide and conquer is being changed slightly to use our own people against us, which is really sad in that context. I feel like in regards to a legacy, when you're looking at Oprah could be at a point where she's like, I don't care whatever legacy I leave. I'm just going for what I believe in personally. And sometimes I feel like money changes people. You get to be a billionaire. You've experienced different things in life. So you're like, whether you like me or not, it doesn't matter. My true core beliefs of what I feel is right is what I'm going to stick to. So this could just be her true core beliefs based on her experience that she's had. To say, you know what? I was abused and no one ever protected me. So the minute a black woman says that they're abused, I'm going to look into it. It could be personally what she's doing. So in regards to that conversation about Gayle King, I just felt like it was distasteful. She should have never asked those questions in that context because it felt like she had an agenda. And yeah, generally I feel like there's an agenda against black men.
Yeah, I agree. And there is an agenda against black men. There's a saying that no black man ever leaves, a successful black man leaves their industry clean. And I guess, looking at the Kobe Bryant or the Lisa Leslie interview, certainly the way Gayle King asked the questions, and Kojo, you rightly pointed out that there were certainly leading questions to sort of gauge, to create a certain reaction from Lisa Leslie, and I think the way she answered those questions and dealt with it were, I think she did it in an appropriate manner.
Definitely.
And she shut down the conversation.
Yeah.
She shut it down, which was the right thing to do. But I think, what we should also do is that we can't completely say that, everyone has clean hands. And if there are people that do have allegations to put forward and want to speak about them, then I think there should also be a case of being able to let them do that, in such a place. Because, it's not a completely unqualified thing of just completely protecting the black man. Because if there are some that have done wrong, then that obviously should be exposed and looked into. I certainly do agree with that. Kobe's case, where he was never taken to trial, the case was dropped. I certainly think that as other cases. I remember when Nelly was arrested for a rape case, and I remember I saw the article on BBC, and I remember saying to my missus, I was like, BBC never report anything about Nelly, ever. They never speak about this man. The instant this man's picked up for a rape case, they start, that's when the article comes out. And so there certainly is an agenda to bring down the black man, because certain media outlets won't even speak about certain individuals unless it is to do with something negative.
Some bad stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for listening to our episode today. We are really interested to hear your thoughts on this topic, and we'll speak to you soon.
Perspectives, different views, one voice.